can you both share like an experience or moment you had during your time in Lesvos that solidified your commitment to the cause?
Well, I mean, we had a lot of eventful experiences, but I think one that really stood out in my mind was when we were visiting the old Moria refugee camp, and we were able to see the remains of the camp that burned down. And I remember we were going through the sort of like ruins, the rubble, and there was text in the wall saying, "Do not forget how they raped us." I remember seeing that, and I was immediately taken aback, and we were both sort of just like, we could not take our eyes off that. We kept thinking like, how was it for these people, like the things that they went through. It was absolutely like mind-blowing for two people that come from, you know, the Bay Area, from a place that's sort of like sheltered from all these things.
Moria refugee camp was a sight to see for us, especially, again, like you said, coming from the Bay Area. And another sight we saw was the Kara Tepe village. It wasn't the actual refugee camp, but it was a village. And we went with Mr. Stavros. Stavros, he took us on a tour, and that was actually the village that he led. And now it is completely gone. It disappeared. But what actually was before was where refugees from the camp, they got together to go to the village, and there were hundreds and thousands of them able to learn different languages, learn different skills, actually develop into the new world that they're entering. And before, they didn't even have that.
Awesome. How did you both navigate the emotional toll that working with refugees can have on your mental health and well-being?
Well, in terms of my mental health and well-being, seeing the refugees there, I wasn't too concerned about it. I was more concerned about their mental health. I think mental health is something that's often not talked about enough in terms of refugees and what they go through. You know, we hear all these stories and they talk about the physical abuse, but it's really the mental abuse that stays on even after the refugees have, left their home countries and are safe to wherever they are. That trauma is sort of like a lifelong trauma for some of these people. I remember when I was in the camp, there was one woman I talked to. She was 19 years old with 3 children, and she had a husband who was in his 50s, abused her viciously. And so hearing that sort of story, hearing that sort of just traumatic, terrible, horrific events happening to a person, I have to think, like, even though this woman is only 19, I can't imagine that ever leaving. And that was what was truly heartbreaking about this, is that the immense pain that they go through, it's sort of just, they'll never forget it.
I was able to give a workshop presentation for 2 days on entrepreneurship, and one woman, she was particularly very, very inclined to start her own restaurant into Germany, where she was trying to move. And she was very motivated to do so. However, she did not know anything. Like, I asked very simple questions in a worksheet, like, what are your goals in terms of a business? And even such simple things that we may think on a daily are stuff that they were enlightened by and very moved by to like actually pursue further. And she even came to me afterwards to ask more questions about it. And while mental health may not be involved, it's kind of like they don't have the knowledge to do much with their skill set, and even something as small as what we can bring as 17-year-olds, what is there in the world? Like, there's a lot more that we can provide to refugees and similar groups of people.
Were there any misconceptions about the refugee crisis that you encountered while on your ground that you'd like to address here?
Some misconceptions that I had before I arrived in Lesvos and after I left was that I always thought that the refugee camps where they're being housed was far more hospitable than I expected, far more humane than how it actually was. Refugee camps are known for housing thousands of refugees and giving them access to food, water, and resources, and they're sort of symbolic of a place that is helping all these people that have nowhere to go, right? Well, when I got there, I mean, they are doing that, and it's a good thing that they're doing. However, there are many defects in that organization. There's lots of corruption, lots of cases of sexual assault, physical assault. It's not a humane environment at all. When we were at the Kara Tepe refugee camp, we saw the tents, plastic tents, and in Lesvos with very hot temperatures, it was around 120 degrees, 130 degrees in the tent. So these conditions are not like suitable for human beings, and that was something that really took me away.
And many refugees, they come from various countries to the Turkey border and then cross to Lesvos in a boat. And one woman in particular, she mentioned how there's, say, 5 boats that are coming, 3 of them will land, 2 of them will get sent back. So there's a limit on how many can come at once. And this woman, she came multiple times, and it was her 5th time, and by the time it was her 5th time, she finally got that opportunity to get to the camps. And so a common misconception is the refugees, they may be smoothly coming to these camps, but there is a lot of effort and money, because each time you get on that boat, it's a couple $100, couple $1,000. So it's expensive, it's a struggle for them as well.
What lessons have you learned about the resilience of refugees? And how do those lessons influence the way your nonprofit operates?
The resilience of refugees is unimaginable. I just have to say that. We talked to 50, hundreds of refugees at the camp or at the WWBT center, and each of them have shared unimaginable hardships that we can't even process. They've gone through just horrific things, and still so many of them come with a smile on their face. So many of them are so kind. Many of the kids, one thing that really took me aback was how skinny, like scarily skinny they were. And just, I saw scars on some of their faces. It was not a comfortable thing to see, right? It just really showed the inhumane things that have happened to them. But yet, they were so happy and they were so curious. And when he was giving the workshops, they were so attentive because they really saw it as a way for them to, rise up and get out of this terrible living condition and get a job and start a nicer life. So that was one thing that really, another thing that took me aback was the resilience is absolutely insane. They're some of the nicest people, they're some of the most hardworking people, and they're some of the most passionate people despite everything that they've been through.
What about you?
The resilience, after, like I said, the efforts they take to come to the land is you need a lot of effort, especially coming with kids. Some came with their parents who are old and may not be able to be as mobile. And not only that, they have to find opportunity there. Not everyone even knows about. We went to a wellness center, a women and children wellness center. Not everyone knows about this center because they're not allowed to advertise necessarily in camp and go tell everyone, hey, come to the wellness center. They may put posters outside, and those who see them, they're able to come to the center. And again, not everyone will make that effort to go and learn different things every day and communicate and attend learning how to use a computer or English language and things like that. So resilience is not only the transportation to come to the camp, but it's now from the camp, where do I go with the rest of my life? I have another 40, 50 years left. What can I do with my abilities and my skills?
What do you envision as the long-term impact of your organization on the refugee crisis in Greece, but also beyond?
Well, 2 key aspects of our organization is mental health and education. These are 2 essential aspects that refugees desperately need in their life. Many of them, specifically women, come from countries that don't allow females to, go to school, go to college, and get educated. And once they come to countries, say the European countries or US, you need some background, some educational background, some knowledge to really get a job and form a better life. So that's a major aspect. And obviously, as we talked about before, trauma is a big thing that carries on in refugees' lives. And so we try to focus on mental health support. And so these things, when we have refugees and we're giving them sessions and we're going through our curriculums and our courses, whether it's business, entrepreneurship, English language, or just general skills that they have to survive. Those are skills that will carry on with them for the rest of their life. So that would be the long-term impact. The skills that we're giving the refugees now, even if they're only with us for 3 months, 6 months, that's going to carry on for the rest of their lives.
Walid, what about you? What do you think?
So what our organization does is, like you said, once the refugees are out of the camps, they're in their new resettled homes, now they have to build their new lives. What we can do within our scope is to provide them the resources at that stage of their life, such as the courses, such as the workshops, or even the fiscal resources that we can provide potentially. And all of that is built upon what our goal is to support and provide aid. So the various organizations there are, to work with them and host larger workshops, because just within our organization itself, it may be difficult to expand our reach. It may be difficult to build that trust with refugees, and that's a very, very big thing. And so to actually work with other organizations and to work hands-off within our limits, we're going to be in college and the rest of our student-led organization within our various chapters that we have. It's all going to be based on what we can do once the refugees are resettled and how they can improve their lives from that stage onwards.
Arnav, what is your final statement? What do you think should really be said about this crisis?
Well, the refugee crisis is bigger than any of us. It's bigger than the refugees. It's bigger than any individual human being. No one person can do this. No one organization can do this. It requires a collective effort of every human being to understand that this is an issue that's caused not only by, a common misconception is that it's caused only by countries that have all these problems. But no, it's a global issue. Everyone needs to take responsibility. Everyone needs to invite refugees to their homes. Everyone needs to be welcoming to these people. Because one thing that I can say for sure, after working at Open Arms for over a year, is that refugees, the more refugees that come into our communities, the better and the more prosperous our communities are. We're not only helping them, they're helping us. So I would say to everyone, be welcoming. Don't turn your backs on people that need help.
Walid, what about you?
Refugees come from hundreds of countries. There is so many crises going on, and you can't just say, focus, this one country is just because of the country there's refugees, or because of this political issue, because there are so many, and there's so many people that don't get that opportunity to do nearly what they could have done in a safe environment with the resources that we have. So put yourself in their shoes, and what can you do as of now, and what resources would you like if you were in their eyes? And that is what you can provide, whether it's monetary donations, whether it's spending your weekends volunteering to teach someone English. Think about what skills that you have, whether it's crocheting or designing a website, very small things in various fields that you can explore, and also guide the refugees to advance their skill set in their lives.